Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Mike with Beach Bum Trades, and I want to review my number one asked question today, and it is, what indicators do you use? If you've looked into using indicators already, if you're already using them, you obviously know that there's thousands and thousands of different to choose from, and even with inside those indicators, there's a ton of different settings. So I want to go over the top three that I use that I think can help you out a lot in your trading journey. If you want to follow along with this, I use TradingView. So go ahead and open up your TradingView chart, and let's cover my top three indicators and the settings I have within them. All right, the first indicator I want to cover is supply and demand zones. And before we get too in-depth into it, I want to give you just a quick overview of what it does, and then we'll get into where you can get it from in the settings within. So one of my favorite things to trade is gold, and we're currently on the Z portion of the contract, so GCZ25. We are at the 1 minute chart on the bottom and the 5 minute chart on the top. It is active right now. It is 11:09 a.m. on a Monday. So as you can see on the 1 minute chart right here, this indicator marks out supply and demand zones for you ahead of time. This one's, pretty straightforward right here. You can see where your supply zone has been marked out for you, where areas of resistance have come in. Here's a second area where it's coming. You can see where it has dropped down, came back up, and tested this area and pulled back out of it. And maybe by the end of the video, we'll come back and look at this to see if it respects it for a second and third time, just for clerical reasons. It does it on the 5 minute chart as well, and you can go, I believe, all the way up to the 4 hour. But I am a scalper, so typically I'm between the 1 minute and the 5 minute chart, and then I'll occasionally flip over to the 15 or the 1 hour if I'm looking for a little bit longer term trend for the day. But let's roll back through this 1 minute one real quick. You can see where it's created this great supply zone down here on the bottom on the 1 minute. Let's see if we have any on the 5. I like same exact spot here on the 5. And this is a pretty easy scalping strategy, just waiting for it to enter into these zones. And often what I'll do is I'll let it get in this area. And if I'm looking for a short out of here, I will enter in a small position, maybe 1 mini, maybe 2 minis. And as it respects this location, this box gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until we've exited out of it, like you see on the bottom here. So we've came in and retested the area. We're leaving it. And now I'm more inclined to open my position up to adding a third, fourth, or even fifth contract. And again, I am a scalper, so would be in this for a very short period of time. I'd be looking for probably this area down here to take my exit on. So I'd be looking for this position right here between 4,097 and 4,094. $3, 5 minis. That'll net you what, $300? Easy trade. All right, so let's review my settings in here, and now you can see that this indicator is right here from Flux Charts. I believe it is free. Flux Charts, MTF supply and demand zone. Yes, it is free. Back into the settings here. Directional, so momentum. Sensitivity, medium. I've tried it on high. It's a little bit too much. It creates too many of these zones. Zone evaluation, close, that's important. I'm not a big fan of measuring the wick on it because I see the wick is not the entire body. Visible range, I have minimum. I don't really mess with any of that stuff. I'm going to mess with any of this. You can change the colors on this if you want. Time frame, chart. So I do a 30 minute and a 5 minute on my 5 minute one. That seems to help the most. You can also add retest and break indicators in here. If you look on mine, I have the little R's where they do come up and retest the mid area of these zones. They're not necessary. It's just something to just kind of keep me focused here. The style is completely up to you how you want it. Visibility, same thing. not super important. But I would say the most important part of this is your sensitivity. You're going to have to mess with it to get it the way you like it, to help it fit your trading style. And then these. All right, my second favorite indicator is the VWAP indicator. And if you don't know what VWAP stands for, it is volume weighted average price. It is a technical analysis indicator that shows a security's average price throughout the day adjusted for trading volume. This is a freaking super nifty tool for scalpers, and it works best on SPY. If you're doing 0 DTE or 1 DTE stuff, often you can just take your trades right off of VWAP. We're on the same day we were just on. Gold doesn't seem to be respecting it as much. And you can do your VWAPs differently. Mine is anchored per session. So each session, each 23-hour period here that gold trades, my VWAP measurements start over again. So you have your top, your mid, and your lower. And there is like a ton of other settings. You can have mid, high, low, mid, high, a bunch of other stuff, but let's just keep it simple. You can see here where we broke back into VWAP, hovered for a minute, and then dropped into it, came back up, tested the top of it again, dropped back down. Same correlates on the 5-minute here. This is super duper helpful. I'm going to switch over to another chart and give you a better example. So like I mentioned earlier, SPY is a really good one to use this indicator on. And SPY doesn't like to leave its bands too often, and it doesn't stay out of them for a very long time. So you can see where it's dropped down, tested the lower portion of that band, and just rejected. This would have been a great short to get into. And I probably would have tested the short around this area up here, maybe 1 or 2 contracts, and then breaking this center would probably add a little bit to it. Coming back down to a retest would have told me, all right, it's time to go in heavy. And we would have gone, added another 10 or 15 or even 20 contracts to it. We would have gone 0 DTE. And again, we probably would have kept a pretty tight stop on this because it leaving so heavily out of this bands, it wants to come back. It wants to retest it. It's coming back up currently. You can see that on the 5-minute. If you look in the overnight, it often stays within these bands or just bounces around through them. And then we hit New York session. Here's actually a trade I took this morning off of candlestick structure as a really small scalp to the upside. But we took this off this nice hammer and I made a couple $100 on it. All right, let's go over the VWAP indicator settings. And this is the VWAP that's just built into TradingView. This isn't a generated indicator by a third party. There's a bunch of them. I like this one because it's very simple. So we have anchored per session, but as you can see, you can do week, month, quarter, year, and a lot of people who take some larger, longer positions, even interim day traders, will go out to the week because that's a pretty great indicator. Source, we're looking at high and low, and again, we talked about in the beginning of this video, there is so many settings inside these. Spend some time, figure out what you like. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, especially for this video. If you're watching this, you may be new to trading, or you've been doing this for a year, maybe 2 years, and you're trying to get a little more serious with it. But you can have it anchored to the SMA, flux charts. You can have it anchored to the open range breakout, and this can also go in conjunction with the other indicators that you have. So this is a really good one. I like this one. Offset, I leave it to 0, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what offset does, so I don't mess with it. Bands calculated, standard deviation. I don't like percentages, and again, because I haven't done enough research on it myself, I don't mess with any of these settings in here. I don't mess with this at all. I don't mess with the inputs. The style, again, you can change it. You can change it to be anything you want. You can change the color of the bands, make them red, white, and blue if you want. Visibility, everything just stays standard within the timing. All right, my third favorite indicator, and this also works great for futures, and you'll hear people like Big Daddy Max at Max Options Trading, they praise the orb. Orb is king. Well, let's go look at some charts. If you look here on the 5-minute, you can see where we've opened up, tapped orb, rejected, so 5, 10, 15, 20, brought it back down, top of orb, rejected, top of orb, rejected. And once you rejected this midline, that is a good area for a small entry if you're feeling bearish or bullish, depending on which direction it's going. But this is probably one of the most important ones, and today just happens to be a good example. This is not always going to be this clean. This is not always going to be this good of a setup for you, but today is just, it's phenomenal. It's lined up. So look at the 1-minute chart, especially here where we broke orb to the downside, came back up to test it, and then rejected. That would have been a great short for you. Probably would have skipped along, came back up, got pretty close to orb again, rejected, would have been a great second entry if you're going to take this even lower. Same thing on the 5-minute. The 5-minute kind of cleans it up a little bit better. You can see the way the candles go, and I'm considering making another video about candlestick structure, because that's some of my other ones. Like, we'll cover some of the basic things, like what's the doji, what's the hammer, what do they mean, maybe 2-bar structures, 3-bar structures, but that's all going to be relevant. We'll worry about that another time. All right, let's go through some of the settings here. This is Orb Algo by Flux Charts. This is another free indicator you can get on TradingView. Flux Charts has really great stuff. I'm not sponsored by them, but I have used a lot of their indicators over the years. Orb time frame. This is going to depend on what you want to do. I like the 30-minute. You know, if you're trading NASDAQ and ES and stuff, if you're doing futures, the 15-minute may be better for you, especially if you were just scalping. 5, 10, 15. If you're looking over here in the 5-minute, that would have been your first scalp of the day. That would have worked out phenomenal for you. I like the 30-minute because after the first 30 minutes that the New York market is open, we have a little bit of settling going. We're starting to generate direction. Some of the volume, the morning time volume is shedding off a little bit. But again, sensitivity on medium. Breakout conditions on close of top or bottom. This has a take profit portion with it. I have that stuff turned off, but you can modify this indicator to tell you when to sell and when to buy. And really what it's telling you is once it's breaks the band from top or bottom is to buy or sell. And you can just sort of do that on your own. So that's EMA length 9. We'll do an EMA video another time. And not worry about the stop loss. The session is important. Please adjust it to where you are at, because it took me a while to figure out what the hell was going on when I had my lines just showing up at 11:30 in the afternoon. This one has a buy and sell dashboard. It has a back testing log as well. I don't have either of those initiated. Honestly, you could just market these out yourself in the morning, but why? You have a free indicator. Enjoy it. Style, you can change the color of all these. This is just another buy here, sell here. Here's your stop loss. Here's your exit. I don't recommend using these. If you want to take the time and go back through the back testing method of it, yeah, it may not be too bad. Visibility is irrelevant. There's one more here I want to cover briefly, and it is the EMA indicator, which is a short for Exponential Moving Average. And this is going to, your settings in this are going to be important because they're really going to depend on what you want to do. Again, I'm a scalper. I like to keep it short and tight. This at the beginning of the day is not near as important as it is towards lunchtime or power hour. So mine is anchored to the end of the previous day's close. So if you look here, we're crossing our 100 EMA line right here. This is a very good indicator that, hey, we're probably going to stay bearish for a little bit. Same thing here. We're probably going to stay bearish for a little bit. You can see we've dropped below it, come up, tested the area, and have just ridden it downward since. Let's go look at the settings on this. I want to encourage you to do a little bit of research with this one. I like the 100 and the 200 for the way I trade, but as you can see, there is just a pile in here. You can turn this into Rainbow Christmas Party. And, you know, I'm sure this all means something to somebody, but the one I care about the most is this is this red line right here. Now I'm going to show you what to use this in conjunction with. I really like using this EMA indicator with the VWAP. It creates a very nice, clean version of what's happening in front of you. You know, we're looking at crossing this to the upside. This would be your, if you were a fib guy, this would be your golden zone. This is where you're hanging out and watching. You're watching the upward crossing of this EMA, and you're looking at the potential downward rejection off of your VWAP. This is the area you want to set some little indicators, timings for yourself. And if you don't know how to do that, I'll show you real quick. I already have mine pinned, but it's right over here. You can just hit trend line, draw it across, give it a name. We'll call you the look at me line. And then up here, you can set yourself a nice little timer. And I always do it once per bar, because if you do only once, it'll go bing, and that's it, you're done. And there's oftentimes, if you can miss that, if you're in the other room making yourself a sandwich, once per bar, you can leave yourself a nice message. Look at me, time to, whoa, time to short. Wee woo, wee woo. And so what's going to happen now is, as I'm sitting at the gym later, minding my own business, going, now I've done all my trading for the day, I'm going to hit this line and crap my pants and think I'm still in the middle of something and wondering what's going on. Maybe what we can do, we can just right-click on it and delete it. Or you can always just right-click on the screen. You see remove indicators above it. It'll just... So now that we have are not 3 but 4 indicators that we like to use back up, you can see how clean this move was on the 5 minute this morning, where we regenerated this area of resistance back from November 25th. Now it came up, gave her a tickle. We've hit the top of orb, and we've hit this area of resistance. This gives us multiple levels of confluence to take our trade. This is saying, hey man, it's a good time to go short. Start small and let's work into it. The 1 minute, not so much, but that's why we trade multiple time frames. You can't just set the 1 minute up and you know, bleed your eyes out over every little candle that happens every 59 seconds. You'll go crazy. Hey man, thank you everybody for watching. If there's something I can do in the future to clear things up, or if you have any questions, you have any comments, just leave me a comment. I also have the link to my Instagram in my bio. You can just message me directly. I get a ton of questions. I answer everybody. You know, there's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is the one unasked. Unless, you know, my kids, they ask some pretty dumb questions, but I love them. So anyways, guys, thanks for showing up. Good luck trading. Pick your indicators wisely. Do some research. Mess with your settings. Spend time on your charts. The charts are very important. You don't have to back test for 6 hours a day. Get on a couple hours. I set up faux trades for myself all the time. But, you know, I'm done with my trading for the day. I don't have a paper trading account. I'll set up a faux trade for myself and let it run and go to lunch and come back and see what happened. You know, do some homework, do some research, and be safe. Risk management's important. Good luck, everybody. Mike from Beach Trades out.